You're entering CNBC TV 18's virus-free studio, powered by Century Laminates and Century Ply.
Hi guys, good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Now, the global picture is not looking so good. We're getting pretty mixed cues from there, but for our own markets, we have a whole bunch of cues to track today. The Q1 GDP data came in and we've seen the worst ever contraction of 24%. Further, the RBI has also stepped in with a number of measures to cool yields. So we will talk about all of that and more in just a bit. But first up, here are all of our top stories. Wall Street ends mixed in overnight session after S&P 500 and Dow notched the best August since 1980s. Asian markets are mostly lower in early trade. The Indian economy contracts by 24% in the first quarter. That's the fastest pace of economic contraction on record and is sharper than the CNBC TV 18 poll of 20%. Chief Economic Advisor K.V. Subramaniam hints at steps to boost consumption around the festive season. He says a V-shaped recovery is underway since June. And the Reserve Bank steps in with several measures to cool yields, announces more Operation Twist, term repo operations of 1 lakh crore, also increases the amount of bonds that can be held to maturity. Bankers expect a huge rise in bond prices today. The Supreme Court will announce the much-awaited AGR verdict today at 11:30 a.m. A 3-judge bench led by Justice Arun Mishra will pronounce the judgment on the issue of staggered payment. The court will also take a call on 2 other issues, on whether spectrum or the right to use it can be transferred under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, and whether past AGR dues of bankrupt telcos should be paid by companies such as Reliance, Jio and Airtel, who have been using the spectrum of ailing telcos. Bharti Infratel decides to proceed with Indus Towers merger, Vodafone to get around 4,000 crore rupees for its 11.15% holding. Former President Pranab Mukherjee dies at the age of 84. He was admitted to Delhi's Army Hospital on the 10th of August for emergency brain surgery. The last rites will be held today. The centre announces 7 days of state mourning. All right, guys, those were all of the day's top headlines, but let's begin by taking a look at how the global markets are faring today. First up, let's take a look at Asia. Key indices trade quite mixed following the mixed close that we saw on Wall Street. In terms of data, the Chinese manufacturing activity expanded in August. The Caix and Manufacturing PMI came in at 53.1% for August versus 52.8 in July. So you have Shanghai, Hang Seng and Nikkei on your screens. No big moves seen there, all trading around 0.1 to 0.2% higher. So not seeing any big moves in Asia. Kospi, Taiwan and the Straits Times should also come up for you. Straits is actually looking quite weak. It's around 0.8% lower. Taiwan and Kospi also managing to hold up in the green. Kospi is again looking quite good actually. It's 0.8% in the green as we speak. Now the SGX Nifty should come up for you. For our own markets, it's actually looking like quite a positive start. We are expecting around a 70-point uptick. That's what the SGX Nifty is indicating. Let's also talk about the US markets then. Wall Street ended mixed. The Dow was down by over 220 points. The S&P was down only 7 points, whereas the tech-heavy Nasdaq outperformed and ended over 0.5% higher. Now, investors are digesting all the recent earnings reports with an eye on the jobs data, which is due this Friday, where most economists peg that US payrolls will continue to rebound in August as well. We now have CNBC's Aditi Roy to get us all of the action on Wall Street.
U.S. stocks finishing the day mixed. The Dow off 223 points, the S&P down 7, and the Nasdaq up 79. The big 3 airlines, United, Delta, and American, are permanently scrapping ticket change fees on domestic flights. The move comes as the carriers struggle to win over passengers after demand for flights evaporated during the pandemic. TSA says security screenings at U.S. airports this summer are down about 70% from normal levels. TikTok has chosen a bidder for its U.S., New Zealand, and Australian businesses and could announce a deal as soon as Tuesday, according to people familiar with the situation. Among the top offers are Oracle and a joint bid between Microsoft and Walmart. The sale price is expected to be in the range of $20 to $30 billion. Amazon has received approval from the FAA to operate its fleet of Prime Air delivery drones. The approval will give Amazon broad privileges to deliver packages to customers. Amazon joins UPS and Alphabet-owned Wing as companies that have won FAA approval for their drone delivery operations. That's the action from the U.S. market. Back to you in Mumbai.
Aditi, thanks a lot for taking us through all of that action. That was all of the day's global market action, but how will all of the overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in to tell you exactly that. Nupur, Sonia and Mangalam join me now. Sonia, first to you. Quite a big FII sell figure this morning.
Absolutely. There was big selling from foreign investors yesterday. As you rightly pointed out, FII sold 3,400 crores in the cash market. But a large part of that was because of the MSCI rebalancing impact of Bharti Airtel. So 6,300 crores of selling came in only from Bharti. Remember, MSCI reduced Bharti Airtel's weight in the India index from 3.5% to 1.8% with effect from September 1st. So, that large part is getting reflected in this number. However, if you look at it, there was delivery selling in a lot of large cap names as well. ITC saw 1,200 crores of selling, ICICI Bank saw 1,200 crores of selling, and Reliance saw 1,500 crores of selling as well. DIIs bought about 680 odd crores. There is so much news flow this morning. Of course, top of mind will be the GDP number that contracted for the first time in over 4 decades. Q1 GDP came in at a negative 23.9% in this particular quarter. So that is something that the street will have on its mind. The other thing to watch is the auto sales that come out for the month of August. An expectation is for two-wheelers as well as for passenger vehicles. The sales will improve in August compared to July. We also have the Supreme Court that will be pronouncing the AGR verdict at 11:30 a.m. today. So the telecom stocks will be in focus. And the US markets closed marginally lower yesterday. The Dow was down about 223 points. But the SGX Nifty is indicating a positive start. Back to you.
All right, Sonia, thanks a lot for that. Let me also bring in Nupur now. Nupur, take us through all of the stocks that you have on your radar this morning.
Well, Sonia indicated that telecom stocks will remain in focus on AGR verdict, so keep an eye on Bharti Airtel, Infitel, Vodafone Idea, and also banks like IndusInd Bank and IDFC First Bank. And this morning we came to know that Bharti Infitel decided to proceed with Indus Tower merger, so whole telecom space will remain in focus. Moving on to earnings reaction then, JK Cement reported margins of around 21%, so keep an eye on that. On the other hand, Bharat Dynamics reported weak Q1 earnings, revenues down 94% and reported operating loss of over 100 crores, which is equal to profits of same period last year. Also watch out for ONGC, Max Healthcare to report their Q1 earnings today, so keep an eye on all these stocks. And from news flows, keep an eye on L&T completes divestment of electrical and automation business. This is in company line with company's goal of unlocking value for future growth, so keep an eye on that. BML secured orders worth rupees 842 crores from Ministry of Defence, so positive news there. And lastly, Moil takes price hike of about 10% for all grades, so keep an eye on that as well. Back to you.
All right, Nupur, thanks a lot for that. We will keep an eye out on all of those stocks that you just took us through. Finally, we have Mangalam also joining in to take us through all of the cues from the F&O space. Mangalam.
Well, Pavitra, the decline yesterday actually surprised and spooked many, primarily because of the rarity of it in the last 75 sessions or the last 100 days. So the big decline was the biggest that we saw all the way since May 18th, 2020. And fear which had crept away in form of India VIX falling to pre-COVID levels had actually shot up again by about 27%, with the market declining as well. Big selling by FIIs, 3,400 odd crores. But like Sonia said, a large part of that could also be on account of the MSCI rebalancing. However, there was no such one-off in index futures. An FII sale of close to around 4,100 odd crores, where they unwound 24,000 long contracts and added 27,000 short contracts. So, yesterday we were talking about how the FII long exposure was the highest that we saw in 30 months. That has now come down from 77% to about 58%. Cues of caution building up even in the index option space, where there was a purchase of 27,000 puts and sale of 37,000 calls. So where were the calls written? 11,600, 11,400 as well as 11,500. So it'll be important for the market to go ahead and cross the 11,500 mark, since the SGX Nifty is indicating a positive start. The put call ratio is now more palatable, favorable at around 1.17. So we'll keep an eye out on how that pans out. And finally, watch out for Idea, while there is positive news coming in with regards to the Indus Tower merger, the stock is still in F&O band. The Nifty bounces back from the 20-day moving average of 11,340. Let's see where it goes.
All right, Mangalam, thanks a lot for taking us through all of those cues. That's a trade setup for the day. But on to some unfortunate news now. Former President Pranab Mukherjee has passed away at the age of 84. A recipient of the Bharat Ratna and one of the country's foremost political veterans, Mukherjee had been in a coma after undergoing a brain surgery earlier this month. Pranab Da, as he was fondly called, rose to prominence in national politics in 1969 when the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi nominated him to the upper house. A congressman for most of his political life, Pranab Mukherjee had the distinction of managing all the important ministerial portfolios. Prime Minister Narendra Modi called Mukherjee, calling him a scholar par excellence, a towering statesman, one who was admired across political spectrum. President Ramnath Kovind called his death the end of an era.
Who is your favorite movie star?
Formula Tagore, Madhavi.
All right, okay. And no actor?
Of course, Uttam Kumar.
Uttam Kumar. All right, so all right.
And Suchitra Sen.
If not politics, what would you have done in your life?
I would have continued to be in teacher.
चाहे खरीदना हो अपना